Welcome to an episode of Inspired Voices. This month is May, which means that Mother's Day is coming up, and I decided for the whole month of May, we are going to be talking about motherhood. So each week on Friday, a topic on motherhood is going to be released. This episode is sponsored by Heart Warrior Legend, a family that goes around and supports heart awareness to the community. If you want to support the brand, click the link in the description below. If you're new to this channel, this podcast is all about talking to entrepreneurs and artists about their journey, their struggles, their successes, their strategies that they used in life to be the person that they are today. But not only that, it's about changing perspective. It's about talking to these guests and utilizing what my guest does in order to add to your tool belt to be a better person. So let's get into it. For this first episode, we are talking about the unspoken challenges of motherhood. My guest today is Tiffany Williamson, a mother of three, a licensed therapist, amongst other things. Tiffany Williamson.
Yes.
Hello.
Hello.
Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
I appreciate you being here,
Of
honestly.
course.
For those of you who don't know, Tiffany was on the podcast a year and a half, maybe a year, somewhere around there.
Pushing it, year and a half.
Yeah. So you shared your journey and stuff like that.
I did.
It was a really good episode.
It was.
It was so good that there was a part 2.
There was a part 2, absolutely.
So if you guys want to check that out, I'll leave that link in the description below as well. So motherhood. Mm-hmm. That's a kind of what comes to mind for me is love, hardship, a lot of busyness.
Yeah.
A lot of your mind is in different directions.
Yes, you are the manager of the children that you create or have been blessed with, and however you've been blessed with them. But the titlehood of motherhood comes with a lot of responsibility.
What's something about motherhood that people rarely talk about?
Well, the thing is, motherhood is, while it's a very easy term, one of the first words that babies learn is how to say dada and mama. Mm-hmm. But the title itself, when you become a mom, it's bigger than almost the English word for mom. It's its own entity. So it comes with a various set of challenges. Mm-hmm. A lot of great things come out of motherhood, but no one really talks about the path of the mom that is now going through motherhood. Yeah. So as a licensed therapist, pregnancy coach, and also corporate consultant, I work with, not only am I a mom myself, I have a mom of 3, but I work with moms because that title of motherhood is so overarching that sometimes you don't have a space, a safe space to just talk about the realities of what motherhood actually is, going beyond what's shown on TV or the glorified shows about motherhood. Sometimes you want to have a real life talk like, this is hard. Yeah. This is a lot. You're wearing many hats under motherhood, and it's a lot sometimes.
I feel like when people bring up like this is hard and stuff like that, I feel like their first reactions of people is, oh, but it's going to be great at the end and stuff like that. But like that's not really dealing with what's hard.
Absolutely. And when we say hard, it's kind of multifaceted because it's not hard just because of the nature of, okay, this is a new thing you're taking on, especially if you're a new mom. Mm-hmm. You're learning how to not only take care of yourself, but also a new baby. But it's hard because you're now trying to do all of the things. So you're trying to be a mom while also trying to maybe be a good wife or partner. Mm-hmm. You're also trying to be an excellent worker in the corporate field. Maybe you're a high achieving woman used to working at a certain level, and now I have motherhood. Now I have people that are depending on me, that are in this household, that really don't care about the fact that I am trying to be a good corporate mom. They just want their snacks. Or they want their juice. Or they don't understand it. They're just not old enough, you know? Yeah. And so when we say hard, it almost diminishes what you're saying when you're like, oh, this is hard. Because the easy answer is to say it's hard. Mm-hmm. But the real answer is it's hard because maybe as a mom, you haven't been able to find yourself. Maybe you've lost your identity. Maybe it's hard because you're just go. There's only so many hours in a day. And after you've worked all day, you then have to take care of the kids, and then you still have to show up as a partner. So maybe you're struggling to figure out, where's my time? You know?
Do you feel like that's the hardest thing mothers go through?
I wouldn't say the hardest, but I would say is one of the earlier challenges you'll start to have as a new mom and even as a mom of young children. Mm-hmm. One of the first things you're going to have to figure out is how to balance it all. What does that look like? And even how to re-identify yourself after you've became a mom. Yeah. Because it does fundamentally change who you are, how you think about life, what you prioritize. Mm-hmm. And if you're so used to have been, just a you for all your life, and now you're thrust into this role where you are having to think about somebody else. And not to say you don't think about your partner, but it's different when you have children that can't care for themselves at a certain age.
Right.
Or even if they are of a certain age, having to now parse out your life in such a way to make sure they're good, you're good, still remembering to eat, mm-hmm. make an appointment, work out. Like all of those things that were maybe not luxuries prior to you having kids now become luxuries. And sometimes it's a hard launch to have to do that, have to make that switch in your mind.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Obviously, everybody's different, but, I feel like that takes a while, right?
It does.
And longer than what people think.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. Which is why when we talk about postpartum, it encompasses a lot more than just what you may have seen in movies or what you see people talk about in the media of like, okay, it's this postpartum depression. Yes, that's very real, very true thing. But in the postpartum period, you're also trying to refine yourself. You're also trying to heal just from the physical act of carrying a baby and all the things that come with it. You're adjusting to a new sleep schedule. You're adjusting to a new personality, that is your children, while also balancing that now with all the other roles that you carry. Maybe you are a really great friend. Maybe you are a daughter. Maybe you are a church member. All of those priorities have to shift. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it's hard when you look at all of the things now that I have to take care of and you ask yourself, where did I go?
Yeah, it's amazing. Moms are amazing, right? Because they have to go through all these changes and stuff like that. And it's also like a chemical unbalance too,
100%,
right?
100%. 100%. Right after you give birth, your hormones go all over. And they say it takes at least 6 weeks for your hormones to even get back to a normalized state. So thinking about that while also trying to heal. Now you have a newborn. If, again, you are someone that just freshly gave birth. And if you have other children, you're still trying to parent them while also welcoming in this newborn. And then, for those of us that are married or have partners, they want attention too. They want to be involved as well. So you start to figure out, so how do I do all of that? And just make dinner or make yourself lunch.
Yeah. It kind of amazing. Like after you saying all this, I'm like, damn, like, you see these moms that, you have 3 kids, right? So like, I think about how hard it is for that first one, and then like, what is it that makes them want that second one when it's that hard,
Well, you forget a lot.
Okay.
So the pain of labor and delivery, a lot of that you do forget over time, and it gets easier as the baby progresses from a newborn to an infant to a toddler. Things do get easier and yet harder at the same time, but you start to figure out how to live your life kind of in this new way. And then it makes it easier to then like, okay, well, let me add more if you so choose. Some parents don't, some are one and done, and I think both things are fine.
Gotcha, yeah. People talk about like, so like moms go through this whole ordeal and it's a struggle, it can be hard and all that stuff. And then like, but they also want to be like the perfect mom. Like how do you navigate trying to be the perfect mom?
And that is why we have therapy.
Right.
Because there's no such thing as perfect.
Right.
But the media will make you feel as to be a good mom is to be a perfect mom. And the level of pressure that requires is a lot. is a lot. And you really do have to find those safe spaces amongst other moms where you truly can be your authentic self and say, you know what, today was not perfect for me. I often tell moms that I interact with, some days you're going to be a great mom and a not so great partner.
Yeah.
Some days you're going to be an all-star partner and like a so-so mom. And some days you're going to rock and kill both of those, but then you're going to be a so-so worker. And that's also okay. You have to almost be okay with redefining what perfection is, which for some of us is easier said than done. I can be a type A person. I like perfection. So to become a mom, you hear a lot of people before they have kids say, oh, I won't let my kid watch screens, or they're always going to eat veggies. And like you come into pregnancy and this whole idea of having a kid of perfection. These are all the things that my children is going to do. I don't know why that family can't figure it out, but I would never let my kid do, you know? Yeah. And you come in so just emboldened, like I will be the different. And then you get into it and then you immediately recognize, oh, so the mom that was letting her child watch the screen is because she just needed 10 minutes of just freedom. Or the mom that, you know, is trying to do veggies, but her toddler is just, at this point in time, is only eating 3 different things. That's it.
Yeah.
And she just wants her toddler to eat. So you start to back off what you feel is perfection, but you're still having the media and the world telling you to be a good mom, these are the things that you have to do. So even in posting in like mom groups, you know, those are supposed to be safe spaces for other moms to communicate.
Right.
But even then you have to almost put up this facade of like, well, yeah, my child is doing all these great things too. They can speak 50 words and maybe they can't, and that's fine. Every child develops differently, but you feel this pressure to present as if everything is perfect.
Right.
So allowing yourself to find other moms where you can be your authentic self and say, you know what, today, everybody just ate cereal. That's what they wanted. It's cool. No one's going to die from eating cereal. Yeah. But you have to also give yourself grace. I say that all the time, and even it's something I remind myself with having 3 kids, you have to give yourself grace because at the end of the day, we're still growing, we're still humans, and there's only so many hours in a day. And kids, they require a lot of physical effort, but a lot of emotional and mental effort as well. That you're not going to get it right every day. And it's you coming back, you know, apologizing when you need to apologize if they're of age and a situation happened, or just saying, okay, I'm gonna do better tomorrow. Let me do better tomorrow. Let me try to do better tomorrow. You making that conscious effort to think about it, reflect, is already showing you're a great mom.
Yeah.
You know, you're already, the fact that you're thinking about it. And I often tell moms, especially the ones that I work with, like, I know you love your kids. So there's no need to ever preface, like, I love my kids, but, you know, they're getting on my nerves today, or it's been a hard day. The fact that you're here and speaking and in therapy or getting help is showing you love your kids and you want the best for them, while also acknowledging you as a human.
That's true. Yeah, that reminds me of like when I was teaching acting with my students and stuff like that. You know, they were kids and stuff like that, and even munchkins. You know, I was always like, to my boss, I was like, man, like I should have done this in the class and stuff like that. And he's like, just the fact that you're saying that shows that you care, so it's okay.
Exactly. Exactly. But it's so easy to beat up yourself as a mom. There's such a thing as mom guilt that it kind of starts in pregnancy, and then it just kind of goes on from there. And it's something that you really have to manage because mom guilt can come from many different avenues. It can come from inside the house, meaning it can come from your own interactions with your own family, where you have guilt or feel like you're not doing enough. It can come from social media, looking at other moms and families that are thriving on social media, even though we know social media is just a 1-minute snapshot. It's not showing everything. But there's a lot of areas in which you can have mom guilt, and that's another avenue of pressure. So again, we're speaking about motherhood and how it encompasses all these things, and I'm telling you, it has pressure, it has guilt, it has all these things. And now we're then asking the moms, okay, so what are you doing for self-care? You know, while not recognizing, well, I just told you like 50,000 things I'm trying to balance.
Yeah.
You know, and that is the challenge. Trying to carry the weight of motherhood while also making sure as a mom, you're still being your whole self. Because from what I'm telling you, it's really easy to get lost in motherhood, just to focus on the perfection and making sure I'm doing enough to not have any guilt and my kids eating all the veggies that I said they were going to eat, you know, and keeping that high pressure on yourself, that the challenge becomes, how do I make sure I put myself as a position of priority?
Is that always going to be taking away to make room for more for yourself?
It will feel that way. So the struggle is that when you initially start to put yourself back in that position of priority, it will feel as if I'm dropping them all somewhere. When in reality, that is not the case. To put yourself back in priority as a mom is to kind of fix the foundation that we are setting with raising your children, having a partner, being in the corporate world and working. It's kind of putting you back in that position where you're in control versus reacting to all the other things that are happening. And when you put yourself back in priority, you are allowing yourself to take that moment to breathe, to give yourself grace, to not fall into that need for perfection, because you're recognizing at the end of the day, I'm me. I do a good job at being me. And as a result, I really still do a good job at being a mom. But sometimes you lose that because you're just so focused on the kids, or the kids in the relationship, or the kids' relationship in corporate, and you lose yourself. And there's no winning when you've lost yourself, regardless of if you're a mom, a wife, or a friend, a support member, whatever.
Yeah.
You know, you're pouring from an empty cup. So you have to pour back into yourself, so that way I can then pour into my children, you know?
Is there like an unexpected struggle that you found for yourself that you went through?
Unexpected struggle.
Like, oh, I didn't expect to go through this kind of struggle.
It was really refining myself again.
Really?
I remember with my first, because again, no, this isn't in a book anywhere.
Right.
So I'm a reader. So I read all the books on labor. This is what is going to happen when I go into labor and delivery. This is what's going to happen when I bring a baby home. There's the What to Expect series that talks about, like, okay, when you bring the baby home, this is what you expect. When they're 1 month, this is what you expect. So I read all those things.
Yeah.
And what I was not prepared for after I became a mom was the mental weight and the emotional weight.
That's not in the books?
That's not in the books. No one's talking about it. And I remember immediately after having my son, I was talking with some friends and I was like, no one talks about this. Like, why is nobody talking about the one important thing that matters? My mental health. Because if I'm not mentally well, how can I then take care of a newborn? How can I show up and keep a house clean, be a good partner, and I'm not well?
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, like, no one's talking about how to find yourself. Because at the time, I think I was 28, 29 when I had my first. And I'd been used to being Tiffany all those years, for 28, 29 years. So to then suddenly be a mom and, of course, want the perfection and want to do all I can for my son, I remember looking in the mirror one day and asking myself, well, where did Tiffany go? I knew I was still in there somewhere, but she had changed. And we didn't talk about the fact that, like, I was going to change. Yeah. And that I really was.
It's like a realization? Like,
it's almost,
oh, shit.
Yeah. I remember looking up in the mirror and being like, wait a minute. I'm not me, the me that I was before I had the baby, which understood. It is life-changing. It is going to change you. But it was almost jarring to be like, well, I need to find her again, because I've worked on her for far too long to just lose her at this point.
Right.
So recognizing how to then find my identity again, and what I help other moms in seeing is that you will find her. She's still there.
Okay.
But what you're going to do is you're almost reintroducing her now, because you've almost up-leveled her. And while you're starting to recognize, okay, this is who I am, I'm a mom, and I am a X, Y, and Z. It takes a journey. Yeah. Because for a while you just kind of get sucked into the whole motherhood thing, and you're just like a mom. And then you're gonna be like, wait a minute, but I spent 28 years not a mom. I was still like a person. Yeah. So how do I merge the two? Yeah. And that's what will come after you kind of get out of postpartum a little bit, start to breathe again, your baby's sleeping again. You can start to look around and say, okay, so who is this version of me? What boundaries do I want to set as I grow her? What do I need to make sure I do to check in with me? Right. because that also helps with postpartum.
Yeah, so like it's never you're back to yourself who you were before as a mom. It's just an upgraded version of that.
You've now upgraded to a whole different version.
Yeah.
Because now I've expanded. I've expanded my mindset of all the things that I have to think about and keep track of in my mind. Just as simple as, okay, if someone invites us to a kid's birthday party at 11, I'm now doing the mental math of like, I have to get my kids up by this time. I have to do this. I have to get me dressed. I have to make sure I pack snacks and diapers. Like your mind goes 5 different places all the time as a mom. So if you ask them anything, they've probably thought about it. They probably have segmented it in some sort of mind because you're forced to.
Yeah.
To keep everything kind of rolling, to keep a house together, you almost have to think of all of these things. And then you still have to make time for yourself. And then on top of that, as I've mentioned, if you do, like I'm married, so I have a husband. So he wants time, to spend time with me too. So you have to make sure that you're giving just enough of yourself in each one of these things, but you're also leaving some for yourself.
Yeah.
Because
And
the relationship still matters.
Sure.
But it's also easy when like first 3 months of postpartum where you're just so focused in on keeping this little human alive that you kind of forget about that part. But I always tell the moms and even the dads, if I see them before postpartum, she'll come back. Just give her a little bit of time to like wrap her mind around all the things.
Well, isn't it just about communicating that?
Communication is huge.
Right.
But the thing is, you don't know until you know. So I will say this, my husband, second pregnancy, third pregnancy, he understood that. He was like, let me just give her a little bit of time postpartum. She gonna come back. She just needs to figure it all out. But the first time, with the first, you're just like, okay, like, so how do I balance all of these things? So communication is huge. And I always stress that, especially to my pregnant moms, communicate before you have the baby. Talk about how to make your life easier, what chores. It could be something as simple as, could you just start doing dishes? Yeah. Just start it before. Talking about, hey, like, this is my way to ask for help. Because the thing is about the postpartum period, especially if you're not one to ask for help normally, you will need help during that period, and it sometimes may be harder to ask for help because now I have that guilt of I need to be the perfect mom. I shouldn't really ask for help. And it feels strange to allow others, your village, to come in and help you because, again, I'm the mom. I should be able to do it all, but you really can't. During that time, you need help.
Yeah. So, like, maybe for the dad, right, to kind of acknowledge that and, like, be vocal about, hey, don't need you to be the perfect mom here. Let me take some 100%. Weight off, kind of thing.
Don't, vocalizing that while also just do. During the postpartum period, if you see the dishes are there, just do. Don't even add to her mental weight of asking her, like, do you want me to do it? Just
right.
Or if she needs a nap, give her an hour for a nap. I always ask my moms heading into postpartum, what are some of the things that make you happy? What are some of the things that give you a little boost in your day? Because those are the things you're going to have to draw on in that postpartum period to kind of combat what we call baby blues.
What is baby blues?
Baby blues is around the first, they say it lasts around the first 2 weeks. It can feel very much like postpartum depression. Your hormones are surging. So there could be points in the day where you just feel down, want to cry, or the surge of hormones is causing you to cry way more than what you normally would. And it could be about, lack of sleep, lack of eating, the baby isn't latching like they should, so it's making you very, very tearful.
Is there a difference between that and postpartum depression?
There is. So postpartum depression is when that lasts. So we're talking months.
Okay.
You're struggling to get out of bed. You're struggling to complete normal tasks that you would normally do, like get up, normal hygiene, get the baby ready. You're struggling to do that, not only for yourself, but also for the baby. It's not that you're putting your babies in harm's way, but you're not as responsive to their needs. Or you notice sometimes it happens, moms will have babies that just cry more than others. Some babies, that's just how they come out, their personality. That can be really, really hard because a baby's cry is very high pitched. It could be reoccurrent. And we always tell moms when that happens, you know, you can always put your baby down in a safe location and walk away for, you know, 30 seconds to a minute. That's okay. But the guilt of, I'm a mom, I can't put my baby down. So you're not giving your brain and your time, your mental health, time to kind of reset in those moments. So that could also lead to postpartum. Lack of a village leads to postpartum, because as you are, again, you're physically healing, dealing with the lack of sleep. Babies, it's normal for them to wake up every 2 hours. It is what it is. You really do need your village during that time to help you with food, cleaning up the house, or just, you know, hey, do you need a nap? Okay, I'll hold the baby. Go take a nap. And
I've helped a few of my friends that were single moms or something like that, and like I could tell, like, just by walking in the house, like, they need a break.
You just need a break, or maybe there's like they just need a shower. That's fine, but again, you're not going to ask for it. So that's where your village comes in. So those that unfortunately don't have a village, these can all lead to postpartum depression, where if someone is struggling with that, there's help available. There's different therapy modalities. There's even a new postpartum depression drug medication that was just released that can help. So there's many routes to help. But just going back to the dads, what I usually talk to them about is the signs of what to look for. Because you're going to see your partner as she transitions into motherhood, especially if it's her first one. She may cry a little bit more as her hormones level out. But it's usually the dads that notice it first before the mom. They're going to be like, something is just off. And if I hear that from a dad, I'm going to trust that almost 100%. Like, okay, there's something here. You're most likely, we're talking about PPD or other types of a mental health disorder that comes with postpartum, only because the dad, you know, that's not their normal thing to pick up on. But if they're like, something, there's something there.
Because they know their wife.
Exactly. They know their partner. So if I'm hearing that and then we're talking about, okay, let's get into therapy. Let's start getting her the help she needs. Because unfortunately, the medical world now, when you have a baby, you only get one doctor's appointment. That's 6 weeks out. And that we're talking about your healing, your physical healing. We're talking about how the baby's doing, your latch if you're breastfeeding. And the mental health piece is touched on rarely. It's touched on maybe a little bit, if at all. And then that's it. So if you don't present depressed during that half-hour visit, doctor's not saying anything. If you don't say, well, I've been crying at home, you know, or if your partner's there with you and he can jump in like, things are off, you know, something's there, doctor's not going to ask.
Is the doctor the person to go to for that kind of thing, though?
No, but sometimes if you don't already have a therapist kind of established, your doctor, your OBGYN, right after you go for that 6-week appointment, they're almost that first line of defense.
Gotcha.
So as a whole, the therapist field, while also the maternal mental health field has been trying to work with also our medical professionals just so they feel empowered to ask, you know, the kind of the questions that need to be asked to a new mom or a mom at that 6-week appointment, just to make sure the mental health and everything is as it should be. Because the mom may not speak up because, again, I want to be perfect. I'm mom guilt. I don't want you to think I'm incapable of taking my baby or taking care of my baby.
Or even taking away the baby.
Or take away my baby. Worst fear. So, and at 6 weeks, you're still very much sleep deprived. You're still healing. Like, you're in the throes of it. So we always say, you know, for those pregnant moms, the signs to look out for. So they know to call, but also the partners and support village in their life. We talk to them and say, these are the signs to look out for. So that way you have, you know, some next steps and some help just in case.
Yeah, talking about the next steps, right? So people realize that they have postpartum depression and stuff like that. What is it that, besides like obviously going to a therapy and stuff like that, what is it that moms can do to help that?
Well, some of the things, like let's say they haven't gotten to all the way to postpartum depression, but they notice, you know, just being at home, not getting out in the world, kind of stuck inside with a newborn can be very depressing. We've seen a lot of moms, especially in the pandemic, it was scary to take a baby outside because you didn't know COVID and everything. So a lot of moms were just stuck inside, isolated. because you also didn't want a lot of people around because they have germs.
Yeah.
So what we've seen and what we would always recommend, and why I kind of asked this question, as I was saying kind of earlier on, I asked moms, what are those things that kind of bring you joy? Is it going outside? Is it watching a show? Is it a certain food? Like, what are those things that give you a pick-me-up? Because that thing, we need to incorporate that into your postpartum.
Is that like with the kid or without the kid?
Could be.
Okay.
I always recommend, like for me.
Or baby, I should say.
Oh yeah, with baby or kids. I know for me, I would say during my second postpartum with my middle child, I really enjoyed just walking around like Aldi's or Target, and this was before Target was canceled, but like going to Target and just like walking the aisle. Sometimes I would stroll with him, or it would just be me. And it would be like 30 minutes. I wasn't like gone for hours, but it was just something to get me out the house, to make me feel like a human again. And it was like the thing I would look forward to. I remember doing it like every Wednesday. And my husband, he like fully supported it. He was like, whatever you need.
It's interesting because like, I feel like some moms would be like, oh, I mean, I guess I could do something that makes me happy, but then I would have to bring my baby, but then that means I have to get the baby ready, and then what if they cry the whole time?
And then it becomes a task. It no longer is the happy thing.
Right.
So then that's why I would say grab your support village, because if that thing is you taking a 30-minute walk, okay, so schedule that around, have a support member, have your partner on a routine every Wednesday, every Friday, I need a 30-minute walk. Because that will make a world of difference in your postpartum experience. Maybe it's like, okay, when the kids go to bed, I just need like an hour to watch a trash reality show.
Yeah.
You know, we're going to watch The Ultimatum, I'm going to watch it, and I'm going to enjoy it. You know, whatever that thing is, I always tell my moms, do that. I don't care how ridiculous it sounds, because that literally will be the difference between you feeling isolated, feeling lonely, and not feeling like yourself versus giving yourself the chance.
Yeah, it's kind of like breaking the cycle.
It is. It's kind of breaking the monotony of you doing all the mom things, while also reminding you that you are a self. You know, and then for those moms where it really has progressed into postpartum depression, and postpartum depression is the most common thing, but there's other ones. There's postpartum anxiety, there's postpartum rage, there's a lot of different things that may happen. There's even an OCD associated with postpartum.
Oh wow.
So there's many different things, but if you've noticed you now need extra help. So as a mom, if you've noticed that yourself, absolutely. We have hotlines where you can call and literally speak with someone and say, these are what I'm experiencing. And they can provide you with next steps. So, well, that sounds like that may be anxiety or depression. Here's a list of providers, X, Y, and Z. We definitely recommend therapy. As mentioned, some of the mental health.
And speaking of therapy right there, would you recommend... I think I know the answer, but do you recommend therapy before you have kids? Like to talk about that kind of thing?
Well, it can't hurt, because depending on where you are in life and the things you've experienced, labor and delivery and having your own child can trigger some childhood things. Depending on what you've experienced in life. So, therapy's never hurt anyone. A little therapy while pregnant also can't hurt. Just even if it's just I want to make sure my communication is great with my support partner. So that way, when I go through postpartum, we're all on the same page.
Gotcha.
Because I always joke with my moms and say, you're going to say it nicer to your partner while you're pregnant than you are when you're sleep deprived.
Right.
In the postpartum period. So if there's some things that you want to change or add to the relationship or communicate, say it now, because you're going to think you're saying it nice, but you're not. So, have the conversations before we add, the little baby nuke bomb into it. That's like, there's a lot going on. So,
so what you're saying is go to therapy beforehand.
it definitely can't hurt, but obviously if you're like, I can't catch it on the front.
I feel like it would just like
minimize.
And
you at least know you have another supporting person to kind of help you when you're in that dark space, to kind of pull you out and just say, okay, this is different. Because I've definitely had moms that go on postpartum and then they come back to therapy and I'm like, okay, we got all these other things we got to talk about now. And that's fine. But them knowing like, I knew I was going to come back and be able to process this and talk about it. Also, you just know you have one more person in your support village.
Yeah. For sure. Oh man, this is a heavy topic.
It is.
It is.
Motherhood got a lot to it now.
Now, this is the first week of motherhood. So I appreciate you
Of course.
giving your knowledge, I guess.
Of course. Right? Happy to share.
I feel like that's very important. If you share this to anybody who you think will benefit from it, right? Maybe,
Yes.
a new mom or someone who's pregnant or someone who's thinking of being pregnant. The more knowledge that they have, the better that they'll be able to kind of process things.
Absolutely.
Right? So,
Absolutely.
comment below if you have any questions or any different perspectives as well.
Yeah.
Would love to hear it from you guys. And if you have any questions for Tiffany over here, leave them below as well.
Yep. They can also contact me. They can go to my website, transformativedestiny.com. I have a contact us page where you can sign up for counseling, or if you have your own questions, feel free to reach out. I also could be reached at tiffany@transformativedestiny.com. That's my email address.
There you go.